set of darts. I know this particular set suits me because over many years I've found out that it suits me. When I find one better, I'll change it. But for now, we've now got to show how do we hold it to throw. There's a lot of people vary on this completely, but we're talking about 85% of people who play the game. They're the ones. The other 15 who may be very good, some of them not, may have a different style. That's their own right. But for the 85% who use a simple style, this is usually how they do it. They have the thumb under the centre of gravity of the dart, the index finger slightly behind, and the second finger just touching the point itself, or not the end of the point, but near to the barrel. That gives them a grip, a firm grip, and it's also very comfortable to use. That grip would be held like so. Now, a lot of people say with a longer dart, this is not a standard dart, so with a longer dart which is back here, how do they hold it? Well, a lot of us have seen Eric Bristow that sort of wraps his hand all round the dart, something like that. The only way people can copy him is to stick the little finger out. They don't know the rest of his grip, which is very, very, very awkward to copy. Eric is a one-off who's been very successful with his own particular style. Other people say that, how do you get a dart to go over the top of the dart just thrown? They will move the fingers forward. They say, how do you get a dart underneath the one that's already thrown? They move the fingers backwards, which pushes the dart underneath. I like to hold them exactly the same all the time. Hence the grooves that I've got in the dart, so I know the thumb can only fit in one place, the front finger and the index finger go exactly in the same place every time. Then I've nothing to blame if the thing's wrong. So that's a basic grip, what usually suits everyone. A lot of people, as I say, use a different grip, but that's entirely up to them. We are talking about the beginner and also many, many people who play the game at a top level. I prefer just to stand solid so that after 12 hours, 12 days, 22 years, I can still stand and my legs are still okay. You know, they'll still feel comfortable. I think that's important. If you're right-handed, line it up with the right foot. If you're left, it's vice versa, obviously, and it's left. But it puts your whole body in line with the double 20 right down to the double 3. A lot of people, if you notice, they'll come right over here and stand. But that's awkward if there's a wall where you're playing. Some of your games you'll play away in wherever you're playing, and they may have a dartboard right in a corner. They're in an unfortunate position then that they can't throw properly. The other way around, if you're left-handed, it happens on the other wall. So I suggest to anybody starting the game or anybody who's got to a state where they'd like to get better, instead of changing the darts, changing the grip, why not have a look where they stood? Why not say, well, let's move in line into the board. If you used to fasten a piece of string to the bullseye, pull it right down to the corner of that mark there, you'll find out that's the nearest point you can ever throw a dart into a dartboard. If you move the string slightly right or left, it will get nearer. So you are actually, the farther you come over here, you're throwing from 8 feet.
You're changing the distance each time.
Why not throw from the nearest possible point? The right-hand side of the board is exactly the same as the left. It makes sense.
John, we've talked about the grip, we've talked about the stance. The one thing we haven't really sort of gone into is what I would consider to be one of the most important factors, and that is the actual arm movement itself.
That is obviously very important, because that's the thing, as you say, what's going to get the darts the distance of the 7 feet 9. I keep saying 9 because the quarter's hard to add on. So we'll just trim it to the 7/9 for now. I'm taking up the same stance. My bodies won't move or shouldn't move. I've got the arm in the position, the grip. That's very important at the elbow. This is to be a basic player. You can adapt whatever you want after this. It's very important that you keep the elbow in one position. There's the grip. Eyesight level. You bring it back, and if you look, the elbow never moves. It stays in the same place. It slightly gets higher as the arm extends out. But when you get to that point there where you're losing it, you should release the dart and follow through. It's important to follow through, else the dart will not go 7'9 1/4, it'll only go 6 feet. Or in terms, it'll drop an inch on the dartboard. That's the basic of it. So what we do, same again, it's the idea to practice this is to get something, a piece of wood, something high, rest the elbow on, and just practice that. And throw the dart, and you'll find out you don't need the rest of the body at all. You can do without it. You can actually throw darts from there. The wrist stays, I stay level as I bring it back. I don't cock it over. I bring it level and release the dart to the target. Seems as if it goes right up in the air.
But from where I'm standing, John, I mean, when you're actually releasing the dart, you're almost at a perfect right angle.
Well, that's not actually the point of release. The point of release, you'll see, is that would be the right angle. It goes extended until you're reaching. And then when you're actually reaching, you let it go, but the arm goes through. The follow-through is important. Very, very important. You can only get this from, again, hours and hours of practice, and you're adapting your own style. One good tip, what I would say, is that don't throw with the elbow out there. The action is all strange. Keep the elbow in line, the arm itself vertical, so that when it's held there, you can pull it back and throw. It's easy. It's so easy that it's the simplest thing you'd ever do. There's so many people throw like this, and they're very good. So that defines what I'm actually trying to say, or defies it. But that is not the best style. If they want to be what I call consistent, straight down the middle of that 20, all the time, 20, 20, 20, then improve, get a 60, 60. Make sure that you're actually hitting somewhere near what you're throwing at. And that's the way to do it. Keep in line all the time. And I'm sure you'll find out that the game will get easy, very easy, but stick to basics all the time.
But obviously, no matter what stage of the game you're at, either starting, scoring or finishing, your basic stance, grip and throwing action never varies.
Yes, they vary, and that's when you lose. Obviously, mine, I've tried to perfect my own stance, style and grip, which I can pass on to other people like we are doing now, simply because I believe that's the one that'll help them most. It's the only one you can teach with any accuracy. You can't teach an orthodox style, we've said it before. But it does go wrong, of course it does. You tend to, sometimes you throw the dart and you let it go here, and it goes straight up in the air. Another time you don't follow through and you snatch here. That's forced to happen. If you play 1,000 hours a year, which I usually put into darts, that somewhere or another, if I can expect 10% of that to go wrong, I'm only looking at 1,000, I'm only looking at 100 hours that's gone wrong on the whole year. Unfortunately, that might be in a final of a championship. You know what you've done wrong when you get off the stage. But providing you can go back to that simple, basic, elbow in, pull back, straight release, good stance, firm and steady, then you can correct it. And your confidence doesn't go down too much. It stays high. So then you know, forget the loss, let's get back onto a winning trail, and you get back in there. I think that's the whole secret of it. Confidence in your own style, not necessarily your own ability.
Or confidence in somebody else's style and trying to copy them. Develop your own style important, John?
You've got to copy the basic style of what we're trying to show now. If you find out that you've got something what can alter that to your advantage slightly, then alter it by all means. If you find out that by turning the dart upward a little bit and throwing the dart uphill, don't forget I'm 6'1". The fella at 5'4" is going to be throwing from farther down. So instead of moving his arm down here or high above his head, why not just move the dart and throw it uphill? But we're still back to basics of lining up, keeping the feet firm, keeping the body rock still. And that way, a lot of people, what you've not mentioned, they're forced to pull this out. They say, well, how come you never blink? But that, I can assure you, has nothing to do with playing darts. It's hereditary, I'm sure it is. I don't use super glue to hold the lids open or anything. I just never blink. I just concentrate on it. But
it does
I don't blink anyway.
But it does add to this sort of appearance of total, absolute concentration when you're playing, John.
It does. People say also, why don't you ever smile when you're on TV? But in all honesty, the television never show when you're receiving the cheque, not very often. So that's when you smile. You've not got anything to smile about if you lose, have you? Especially if it's a week-long championship where you lose the first round. You sat down for the rest of the week watching everybody else play. I don't think that's worth laughing at, personally. I think get up there, it's a serious business. Try and concentrate on everything that you've contributed towards being in a competition or practicing. Try and put it all together, and then I think the end result will come out that you're satisfied. You may get to the semi-final. But the other player's got to play very, very well to beat you. I mean, competition's all about winning and losing anyway. So if he plays well, okay. Your turn next. Get back to the drawing board, do it all again, trim up on it, and beat him next time. I think that's the whole secret.
Now, we haven't started just yet our imaginary game of darts, where I come from, John, and we're going back to the mat and the varying dartboards, because everybody starts a game, I would imagine, different. Some start on the 1001 or 501 or double start. Where I come from, they start on a double. Now,